Game 3 was a 30-point blowout, but I wanted to talk about how Golden State was able to extend its single-digit lead in the first half by beating Memphis' switch defense and getting dribble penetration in the third quarter. The Warriors were able to extend to a 21-point lead in 12 minutes, essentially putting the game away, so I wanted to focus on that theme for this video. Let's get to it. Memphis started off by not switching ball screens. And the first play by Golden State, you have a dribble handoff by Steph to Dre, which becomes an off-ball action involving the Splash Bros in the baseline. Memphis chose not to switch, as I had mentioned, forcing defenders to chase the players here, and a second down screen by Porter Jr. gets an open look for Steph. Jackson Jr. is forced to contest this, and this is where the defense collapses. Williams comes to double, easy pass by Steph in the paint, and Tillman has a next rotation down. Desmond Bane has to slide to cut off the pass to Green, leaving Ja Morants responsible for the two weak side shooters. Porter Jr. makes a right read to Thompson, who gets Ja in the air with the ball fake and knocks down a three to start the half. A minute later in the same play, dribble handoff to Dre with no switching into a baseline action involving the Splash Bros, and this time Dre sets a down screen and Memphis once again choose not to switch. Clay gets a decent look, but once again Memphis collapses by having two defenders jump on the shot fake. Same read and react, where Clay actually misses Draymond for the open layup here, but swings it to Porter Jr. Bane ball watches for just a half second. That is all is needed for Klay Thompson, who gets a dribble handoff for a catch and shoot 30-footer. Timeout Grizzlies. At the timeout, Coach Jenkins must have told it's time to switch on screens and not force the defender to be constantly trailing. Here on the first on-ball screen by Dre, you get an ideal switch for Steph onto a big man in Tillman. Obviously, the problem with switching is that you're going to have instant mismatches, and Golden State abuses this with easy dribble penetration by Steph, blows by his defender for a nice left-hand layup. We can't ignore a go-to Warriors split action. Here on the initial ball screen, Memphis does not switch, and JP gives an entry pass to Draymond to set up a split action in the post. I think the Warriors knew that they would try and switch, and if you look at both defenders' position, they are trying to deny this screen or pass, which in the read and react offense of Golden State's, the simple counter to this is the back cut. Jordan Poole leaves his defender by back cutting straight to the basket for the open layup and assist by Green. After watching Chris Paul attack Luka Doncic in the other Western Conference series, it makes sense that the Warriors wanted to attack Morant as the weakest perimeter defender. Here he allows dribble penetration, forcing Jaren Jackson Jr. to come and help. Nice swing pass to an open Dre, and obviously he is a non-shooter, but he's self-aware enough to counter this by giving a dribble handoff into a screen, knowing that Jackson Jr. is in way drop defense, and Clay's own defender is trailing and fighting over the screen. Thompson is wide open here, but shoots a tough one-legged three ball that hits nothing but net. Memphis' perimeter defenders were awful this quarter. Here Jackson Jr. is denying the pass, and the simple counter to this is for Draymond to set a screen, essentially screening two Memphis players. This dribble penetration forces Ja to come from the weak side to help, and Melton slides down to the two weak side shooters. He hits Steph, who swings it to Poole, and here you can see Bane try to run cross court to close out to an open shooter, and Poole simply attacks this bad closeout off the bounce for the sweet Euro step layup. Another timeout by the Grizzlies. Memphis chose to stick to switching, and first Golden State gets an ideal switch onto Ja, and Dre comes for a second one to get another mismatch onto Clark. Easy attack and another dribble penetration forcing Williams to rotate, and Melton to pick up the two weak side Warriors. Steph chooses Poole, who again attacks the bad closeout. This time Clark has to rotate. The Warriors keep driving and kicking, and another lazy closeout and reach by Ja Morant allows Wiggins to get in the paint for a third time. I appreciate Ja, but his defensive awareness is being capitalized by the Dubs. Here he doesn't even pick up an open Jordan Poole, and the Warriors finally get an open three after great patience and ball movement. Nursing a 20-point lead, Steph calls a play out and wants Kuminga to bring his slower man and Kyle Anderson up for the pick. The Grizzlies were smart and pre-switched this to have Melton pick up Kuminga, and Steph counters this with a bullet pass to Clay, who once again attacks a closeout and gets dribble penetration. Clark correctly rotates, and you have a couple of easy options here in Looney and Poole, but Clay kicks it back out to Kuminga for another dribble handoff and switch. Melton makes a poor decision by reaching, and Curry gets by again, with Clark rotating over for another time as Steph jump stops to his right, keeping his left foot as a pivot foot for a change of direction left-hand layup. Easy basketball when all Golden State was doing was driving and kicking for good shots. Memphis' defense was far too lackadaisical and no pressure on the initial switch as Steph Curry points to Kuminga to bring Anderson up for another pick. The Grizzlies switch again as Curry goes into dance mode on Kyle Anderson, gets by him, again forcing Brandon Clark to rotate to help like clockwork. He doesn't make this shot, but since Clark has the help, easy offensive rebound by Kevon Looney for the putback layup. This last play I want to highlight epitomizes the theme of the third quarter and why Kyle Anderson has become unplayable if you're the Grizzlies. Now it's Jordan Poole's turn as the rookie comes up again for the Anderson switch, but instead gets a roll pass and another rotation by our good friend Brandon Clark. Looney cuts to the basket with no defender on him, and Kuminga makes an easy read for another beautiful ball movement. There you have it, guys. Though a relatively not dramatic second half, Golden State built on a single-digit lead by exploiting Memphis switches and slower big men into an immense 21-point lead that put the game away early. I wanted to focus on the awful perimeter defense by Memphis guards, yes, especially Ja Morants, and how they allowed dribble penetration to the Warriors and became an instant drive and kick clinic. This gave the Warriors open three-point looks and easy cuts to the basket for layups. As you can see from these highlights that very few shots were contested and more relied on ball movement and reacting to the defense. This game was a first step for the payback of Gary Payton II, and I'm looking forward to another big game slicing and dicing the Grizzlies defense in Game 4. If you like this content, feel free to subscribe and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.